Hello, partners. Thanks for tuning in. This is Benjamin from your Google AdWords team, and today we're going to go over the AdWords Fundamental Exam. I'll help you get ready to pass the course with flying colors. So to begin, we're going to go over an overview of what's covered on the exam and how you can succeed and do best by your clients and do successful work on AdWords. First, we'll talk about some of the differences between AdWords and other advertising platforms. Then we'll go over what makes a great ad. We'll talk about payment, and then we'll go through some details about setting up an AdWords campaign, targeting, bid strategies, and how do you optimize your AdWords performance. So to begin, let's talk a little bit about the differences between online advertising and some other, and television advertising, for example. So traditional advertising does tend to, you look for customers. You try to reach customers where they are. Google kind of flips that on its head. Advertising on Google allows customers to look for you. And you can target keywords, you can target interest, and you can even target types of people in order to succeed with your advertising efforts. So similar to a television ad, a great high-quality ad does tend to perform better than the kind of boring infomercials that we might be used to. So what makes a great ad on AdWords? We have a standard ad format, and I do want to just add in here, we have a new ad format called expanded text ads, which gives you slightly more space to be creative with what you're advertising and has a few more creative liberties there. But either way, this example here does do a great job of illustrating some of the best practices when creating an ad. Our buy dog food online example here has a few things I want to point out. First, it mentions shop now. This is a call to action. We do tend to see that call to action in ads do perform slightly better than ads without them, since customers know when they click on your ad exactly what action they should be taking. Should they be calling you? Should they be requesting a quote? Or should they be shopping online? The second element of this ad that I want to point out is there is a numeral here, save 30% on dog food. There's a tendency in advertising to have blanket very cheap, inexpensive, lowest price. These are great, except having actual numbers can be even more effective, so that when a click goes from Google to your website, people know exactly what they're getting before they check out. Finally, in this ad, I do want to also mention if you have any accolades, things that really set your brand or your client's brand apart from the competition, it's really important to include these in your ad so that when customers are faced with the list of ads, they know what they're looking for. They know what sets you apart. You've worked hard for it. Make sure it's seen in the ad. In addition to the actual ad copy, Google's provided us with an array of ad extensions. These are really, really cool add-ons to the ads that make your ads look just as gigantic as this jet.com example. If you want to drive phone calls, you can add a call extension. If you have a physical location, you can have a location extension. If you have a review, someone's written about you, some great won some business awards, some great accolade that your business has, include these in your review extensions. There also are a set of automated extensions that lets Google scrub your website and come up with some good extensions for you. All of these ad extensions help make your ad a little bit bigger, can help improve your click-through rate, and also help improve your ad visibility so people know exactly what they're looking for when they actually go to your site, which helps flow and will probably help your conversions. So here we are asking, what do we pay? How do we, when people see our ads, how does it actually come across to you as an agency? And then also how, for your clients here. First thing to understand is the quality score. And I'm sure everyone has had some exposure to quality score. It's kind of this crazy metric that we use. It's actually a lot simpler than it might seem. Here, this slide breaks down into thirds how we calculate quality score. Three big things here: landing page experience, expected click-through rate, and ad relevance. Without getting too in the weeds here, the key here is to provide a consistent experience from the search to the click to the page. So if somebody's searching for dog food, we want to make sure that dog food is in the ad. And then also when they go to the page, a client wants to see dog food. This consistency is, if you keep this in mind, the components of quality score will all sort themselves out. So quality score is important because it relates to your ad rank. Your ad rank is a function of the bid and the quality score. So we're trying to improve our rank and get on the top ad position. We can leverage two different mechanisms. First would be the bid, which is important to have a high enough and relevant enough bid to the search. Second would be the quality score. So we want to make sure that the three elements mentioned in the previous slide are all consistent and are also all adding in for a really positive customer experience. So I know this can be a little tough. So I want to also just mention that we do have a live Q&A section here. I have it on my laptop right next to me. If you do have any questions, please do chat in, and I'm happy to answer them live on the air. So continuing with our payments here, how does budgeting work? You set a daily budget for each campaign, and we multiply it by 30.4, which is our average days in a month, to come up with a monthly budget. Don't worry, over the course of a month, we will not go over your monthly budget, even if in a given day we might go a little bit below, a little bit above what we've set. Here on this slide is actually a really interesting, important feature, which is delivery methods. We have two key delivery methods. First is accelerated delivery, and second is standard. Accelerated delivery of your ads means that Google will opt your ad into every single auction that it becomes available for, no matter time of day, no matter any optimization efforts. Standard rotation of your ads allows Google to optimize when to show your ads to increase the odds that you get a click. These are important to remember. If you're not hitting through your budget, maybe try switching to accelerated bidding so that we get you in every auction. Otherwise, if we need to be a little bit more strategic about when our ads are showing, then we can switch to accelerated ads and accelerated delivery and let AdWords do a little bit of the work for you. So this question comes up a lot, and as an agency, it's something that your client may come to you with, and it's totally fair question. How much will I pay if given any sort of keyword? How do we figure out what it's going to cost us? So on this diagram here, we have Dave, Susan, and George. There are three ads that win this auction and are shown. They all, as you notice here, they have 3 different bids and 3 different quality scores and 3 different actual CPCs. Dave, who has a relatively low bid but the highest quality score, so all these other elements that make up of a high quality experience, will actually have to pay the least in order to win even the top spot. Susan, who has a very good ad, not quite as good as Dave's maybe, but very good, will also have not have to pay as much, and we'll probably get the second spot in our example here. I want to focus a little bit on George. George here has a high bid, has a pretty low quality score, and his CPC here is actually going to be at the auction minimum. The auction minimum is simply saying Google wants to see a minimum bid to make sure you're serious about these keywords. The auction minimum will be applied if George were to bid 1 cent because he's like, well, there's nobody else bidding for the 3rd spot. It is possible that he still doesn't show. So we want to make sure that it's all the agencies and clients alike are aware that there is a minimum for a lot of these search terms to make sure that we keep a high quality standard of our ads. What's also important here and is good to know as far as a cost containment perspective, George is paying the most for, or has the highest bid here, for the lowest ranking position. This might be a good time to reevaluate the quality score, see what are people clicking on and what are people going to that is not allowing them to have a high click-through rate, a high landing page experience, or just an overall poor customer experience. Great. Now that we're past bidding, we're going to go up to setting up an AdWords campaign. here is a big slide here. We have just how an AdWords account is structured. Each AdWords account has unique email address, password, and billing details. Within an AdWords account, we may have several campaigns targeting maybe one city over another, one targeting the US, another targeting Canada, one targeting TVs, the other targeting microwaves. These are all different great reasons to split up campaigns. Beneath campaigns, we have ad groups. And ad groups are the home of the keywords and the ads. So within an ad group, the keywords should match closely to the ads that also match the specification in the settings of the campaign that we're trying to target. So I'll give you an example quickly. We have a campaign about plasma TVs, and we have a campaign for microwaves. Plasma TVs, we might have one ad group where it's brand A, and all of our ads and keywords are related to plasma TVs for brand A. Second ad group, plasma TVs for brand B. And we've separated these out because someone who searches brand A wants to see an ad for brand A and wants to go to a site with a landing page that's related to brand A. This is that consistent quality score aspect. Then we have the microwave example, which is we want to only see microwave ads from people who are searching microwaves. So we have a microwave with a certain brand in one ad group, microwave another brand in another ad group, and similarly they can be housed within the same campaign but should be distinct in the ad group targeting. I know that was a lot of information, but it's really important. This is a really good way of saving costs and allocating money where money is made. Second here, this slide is an overview of an AdWords Manager account. This is sort of the home of several different AdWords accounts, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with the structure here. But generally, there's one login, and you have a lot of different AdWords accounts underneath it. Within the AdWords accounts is the same structure as all of the other single AdWords accounts. So next, we're going to go through campaign types. We're going to focus here on the first three here: search network with display select, search network only, and then display network only. Search network with display select is going to give you the widest reach. This is going to allow your ads to show both on Google searches, so when someone's typing keywords into Google search, and then also on the display network on Google's partner sites. This is housed within one campaign. All of the other principles still apply. In these campaigns, you can add both text and image ads, since they will be showing on both the Google property and then also our display network partners. The second option down here is our search network only campaign. These do not include our display partners. This is only for Google searches. And this is what most people think of it when they think of Google AdWords. Third option here is display network only. This is not on Google search. Rather, this is the partner sites and will help build brand and build awareness on based on our targeting, which we'll go through in a minute. The next two slides here are going to go through how do you get started? How do you find what keywords we should target? What properties should we target? And Google's provided some really good tools to make this a really easy process for us. The slide we have up here is a keyword planner tool. This allows us to get search volume data and estimated bids and suggested keywords so that we can build out search and display campaigns at the right cost per click, and then also at make sure we have enough volume to actually get enough traffic to our site. Keyword Planner is available in the Tools column within your AdWords account. Display Planner, also available in the Tools column of your AdWords account, is going to be an opportunity for you to build up a display campaign with either specific placements, specific topics, or other targeting mechanisms that we want to test on display. Keep in mind, search and display are very different properties, and while they can be targeted in conjunction in a search network with display select campaign, it's important to remember that the average cost per click and then also some of the user behavior can differ from one to the next. So now let's get into the juicy bit. This is targeting. We're going to talk about how to use keywords, match types, and then also how to target on the display network. Keyword match types. This is something that there are a lot of questions on, and it's really important that we continue to be aware of the different options here so that we can make sure we run our campaigns really effectively. There are 5 different match types. First is broad match, which is our most general. If any of the words in our broad match keyword match a search term, technically we could be eligible to show. Broad match modifier takes the specific words within the keyword, and you put that little plus sign there. And this means that when somebody has to type in that word in their search term, but there can be words in between, before, and after in order to actually trigger the ad. Phrase match here includes everything in between the quotation marks, but you can have things before or after. A good example, I love this one here, is buy women's hats. It's an enormous burden to think of every single synonym for buy. So this might be a good option if you want people shop women's hats, sale women's hats on sale. Phrase match is your go-to for these types of keywords. Exact match is fairly restrictive. This is only when these terms appear in the order without anything before or after. And then a negative keyword is a keyword that, if added into the search term, excludes your campaign from being eligible to serve. These are very effective if, for example, for our TV example, if we don't sell a brand, we would want to add that brand into our negative match so that people who are searching a specific brand that we don't sell don't actually see your ad, and we don't risk paying for a click going to your site that doesn't have a product that the user is looking for. Display targeting. Display targeting has a lot of different options. I want to make it quite simple for us. There are 2 big buckets. The first is we can target websites. The second is we can target people. The screen we have up right now talks about targeting websites. We can target keywords, which is going to look at the actual content on the website and determine if these keywords appear and how relevant they are to the keyword that we've actually entered. Second is going to be topics. What is the theme of this website? What is the theme of this article? And we can target, if someone's looking for financial planning services, we maybe want to target websites that talk about financial planning, talk about budgets. These are sort of good uses for topics. Finally, down here we have managed placements, which are actually the domains themselves that we want to appear on. So if there's a local website, maybe a newspaper or such, that a lot of our visitors are going to be going to, this might be a good use of our managed placements. So this is in the first bucket of actually targeting the websites themselves based on the content. Second form of display targeting is based on the person. So we have a bunch of audience targeting. First here, which is quite typical, I think all of us have been remarketed to in one form or another, is when we have users who've already visited our website back on the display network, and we want to make sure that they see our ad a second time, or a third time, or a fourth time. This is a really effective way of re-engaging your users, reminding them of your brand, and also making sure that they actually feel engaged with the brand and are likely to revisit. In addition to remarketing, we do have other alternatives of people who haven't visited your site yet, or maybe they have, but they fall into another population that we were able to distinguish. These are affinity audiences, so people who tend to like certain things, or in-market audiences, people who are sort of in the lower funnel, who are looking for specific things on Google, on our display network. They tend to be visiting certain websites. Finally, our last form of person targeting, not website targeting, but person targeting, is our demographics, is to actually distinguish based on age, gender, or parental status, who we want to engage, and maybe how much we want to bid for these specific types of people. In addition to the sites and the people, we also can distinguish based on location. This is a very, very powerful tool that Google's created that allows us to use Nielsen and Google Maps data to actually figure out who is in a specific area and make sure that we can pinpoint them within a targeted region so that they can actually visit your site and they're able to convert. There are a lot of industries, think about a locksmith, who's not willing to drive outside of a 20-mile radius from his home. This is a really good use of location targeting. Alternatively, if you have a big national brand, but you know people in California convert at a higher rate than people in New York, you might want to distinguish here and do a California campaign and do a New York campaign to make sure that you're effectively allocating your budget to the people who are most likely to convert. Location targeting, if you see on the screen here, we do have the option of radius targeting, or you could do it by the city. Radius targeting is where you can create these circles or radii around your specific location or a specific city. In addition to location targeting, we also have device targeting, which allows us to bid slightly higher on mobile devices in order to engage customers who we want to get on the go, whether this means to drive phone calls, whether it's in-store visits, whether we think it's something that's happening right at the moment and we want to get it ahead of the game and make sure, get people who are wanting to know at this very second where you are. Device targeting and device bid adjustments are the ones for you. What's important to remember here is in the settings tab, we actually do see that the breakdown based on these different devices. So don't take a guess. Start your campaign without bid adjustments, and then continue to evaluate your performance. If we decide that the cost per click is lower or the conversion rate is higher on mobile devices, maybe we'll do a bid adjustment then. Okay, now we'll get into bid strategies. These are juicy, and these are exciting. Okay, there are 4 main bidding types here. First, cost per click bidding. This is what we think of as manual bidding, when you can type in the actual bid that you anticipate for these keywords. This allows you to have the maximum control over your bids, and also is a really effective way of managing a budget if clients are very particular with specific keywords over other keywords. Impression-based bidding, cost per thousand impression, is great for the display network, was only available for the display network. And this is similar to a TV viewership paying based on every 1,000 impressions. And this is really good if we want to spread our brand all over the internet and do so at an effective cost. CPA bidding uses our conversion data and allows us to determine what the cost is per acquisition, and we will automatically set your bids to hit as close as we can to our target CPA. And then finally, flexible bidding, which we'll go over in a minute, has an array of bidding strategies that allows us to use data within the account and within what we know about the Google trends to optimize, to get you in a position where you don't have to do a lot of work, but Google uses a lot of the data we have to bid effectively. Here's a list of all our bidding strategies. One I want to talk about here, and if we need to have more questions, feel free to ask, is enhanced cost per click. If our client has a lot of conversions and we believe they're high quality, then it's worth enabling enhanced cost per click. This goes on top of our manual bids, in order to allow Google to bid up or down 30% based on people who are lower funnel on our buying cycle. This is a really good way of using Google's analytics to actually effectively bid for you. Somebody who's just searches someone who browses all the time, who might not know what they're looking for, maybe we'll bid down for this person because they're less likely to convert. Somebody who's really in market, who continues looking for your client's site or continues looking for products or services in the industry, this is the person that we'd want to bid up for. Take the guesswork out of it, use enhanced cost per click, and Google will adjust these bids based on the most effective way of getting conversions. There are a lot of other options here. I'm going to skip over them for the minute. If we do have questions, I think it's worth looking into, and feel free to ask on live or in our community forums. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have all these bid adjustments in this settings tab. We have locations, which we spoke about. Maybe people in California are higher converters than those in New York. We have devices we spoke about, which is maybe people on the go are more likely to actually take action on our site or give us a call. We do a device bid adjustment. Finally, here in the middle, we have ad schedule bid adjustments. Let's say you're only open 8 to 5. We don't want to spend traffic sending people to our website or giving us calls when we're fast asleep or once our doors are closed. Ad schedules what is for you. This is going to limit when we show your ads. And then it's also going to allow us to bid higher on maybe certain days of the week that converts or certain hours of the day that tend to perform a little bit better than others. So now that we've gone through the guts of the account and how to form it and how to provide your clients with the best AdWords experience, let's go through how do we measure and how do we optimize our performance. First, there's a lot of information within Google AdWords that might not seem immediately obvious as to how to evaluate our performance. First, I want to point out the Dimensions tab. It's all the way here on the far right. Dimensions tabs will reveal to us time of day, geographic information, and other key data points that might be useful for us when creating new campaigns or when explaining our performance to clients. Search Terms Report, which is where our tabs appear here beneath the keywords, will show us what people have searched to get us and what people have actually been typing into Google, because it might not match exactly with the keyword that we typed in based on our match type, which we talked about earlier. Auction Insights reports. Within our keywords, we can see how do we rank compared to our competitors, how are we doing, and what sort of percentage of the market do we have. Top Mover Reports shows what keywords are doing best. You can access this within your home screen. And then Paid and Organic Report, we want to see, if we have it if you have your AdWords hooked up to Search Console, we want to see maybe how much more do we need to invest in paid, or could we just go back to organic traffic? These are important questions and good intel for our clients to make sure we're doing right by them. I got a question here from Alberto that I just want to address very quickly. Alberto asks, what happens if you have both radius and city-specific targeting? Great question, Alberto. It's a question we get all the time. I'm really glad you asked. The city and radius targeting will effectively overlap. If we have 5 miles around New York, and we also have the entire state around New York City, we have the entire state of New York, we will target both of those at the same time. Where overlapping targeting becomes a point of optimization and value here is if we want to do a bid adjustment for people in New York City, so we bid slightly higher for people who are in that radius, and then everybody else in the state gets the other bid, gets whatever our default CPC is. So radius targeting, it can be good when layered, or if we want to sort of exclude a certain area as well, which is not quite your question, but also another way of addressing specific areas that we want to exclude, and then we target everywhere around it. Hope that answered your question. Feel free to talk with us if you have more questions on that. Okay, continuing here on to measuring ROI. Measuring ROI is really important. AdWords does a lot to tell you about the costs, and it also can tell you about the value of our conversions if we have e-commerce, some sort of online payment platform. What's really, really important here is to make sure that we know what our revenue is per product, and also what our margins are. How much can we afford to advertise certain products before it becomes, before we start losing money? This varies by industry, so I won't dwell on this too long, but if getting these numbers up front and understanding how much cost we can bear and what our conversions are telling us about the money that we're making will help us build confidence with our clients and also justify the use of AdWords. A good way of doing this is through conversion tracking, which is our next slide. Conversion tracking here does help track when people click on our ads and actually take an action on the site that indicates or is a conversion itself, indicates a conversion or is a conversion itself. Typical conversion actions can include form submissions, request a quote, an actual purchase itself, or maybe getting directions to your store. All of these conversion actions are think of it as the goal of advertising. Why do we put our advertising out there? It's to drive these sort of actions. Conversion tracking will require us to add an HTML or JavaScript code and a JavaScript code to the site, just to make sure that we can track these clicks all the way from AdWords to the final submission on your site. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to us. We want to make sure that conversion tracking is set up and is also used effectively. One other thing about conversion tracking that I did mention earlier, if we are trying to employ a lot of those bid strategies, specifically the ones that are conversion-based, target return on ad spend, enhanced cost per click, for example, this will require some sort of conversion tracking. So, because we need to know who converts and who's likely to, what type of person tends to convert. So very important we have conversion tracking set up. I would recommend starting conversion tracking as you start any new campaign. Okay, how do we assess the success of our campaigns? We have a lot of numbers in AdWords. I know that, you know that. But what do we look for? What does success look like to us? The most common indicator of success, especially if we don't have conversion tracking set up, is our click-through rate. It's the ratio of clicks to impressions. How many times when people saw your ad did they actually click and take action? Click-through rates can vary based on keywords. Keep in mind, if we have a very broad keyword and we're showing up for a lot of terms, a lot of searches, we may have a lot of impressions and not a lot of clicks. Is this bad? Not necessarily, but we're getting a lot of exposure to people who are searching our terms that might not be taking action on our site. If we're getting a lot of people who are clicking on our ads, who have relatively high click-through rate, we do want to make sure that we're continuing to optimize around these keywords to continue driving traffic or to glean best practices based on these keywords so that we can continue driving traffic in other ad groups. Quality score here is also important. We were talking about this earlier. Having a high quality score can help improve your ad rank, which helps show you a little bit higher on the page, which in turn increases the odds that you get clicked on when you're shown. This improves your click-through rate, which also improves the success of our AdWords campaign as a whole. One other bullet point I want to point out here that I think is also overlooked quite often is multiple ads and ad groups. Google AdWords is really unique in the idea that it allows us to create several ads and allows Google to actually choose which one serves. The reason this is important is because unlike other forms of advertising, when you send a creative to an agency or to a television station, they post it up, that's all you got. You don't know which ad is better than others. For Google AdWords, we allow you to create several ads within the same ad group. So if you want to have switch the headline and description line one, test out different words, test out different deals, do it within the same ad group and let Google optimize the ad serving for you. This gives us essentially more opportunities to show your ad and also can help improve your quality score if you choose a winner, if you write a really great ad. So we're just about the end of our training here. We have the exam logistics up on the screen here. It's about 120 minutes in length, 100 questions, and you can access it on our Google Partners Forum. Feel free to reach out to us with any other questions. It's been a pleasure hosting you today. Thank you.